Alright, this is Davor from Derokki, and in this video we're going to talk about margin and padding with RTL websites. And so let's get back into Webflow. We've done the text alignment in the last lesson, so let's go and actually let me show you how spacing works. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll create a box. Maybe let's make this like a green box. I'll call it green box. It's gonna have a 7 rem. And we're gonna have a width 100%, background color green. Okay, and then inside of this box I'll add another box which is gonna be, well, let's call it the yellow box maybe. Okay, that yellow box we're gonna fill it 100% width, 100% height. Alright, and so you can see that the yellow box is now filling the green box. What I want to do now is I want to add some padding. Let's add, say, 3 RAM, which is 48 pixel in padding. Okay, maybe we add something at the top and we add something at the bottom just so you can see what's happening, right? So we have a padding that's coming from the left side. We don't have a padding on the right side. Now, if I go in and if I change the direction of the website from direction left to right, which it is right now, to right or left, you will see that the padding hasn't changed the side. Why? Because what we're using in the Webflow CSS panel is the Webflow is the static property of margin left, and so that property doesn't change the side depending on the direction. And so if we want this padding to flip sides, we don't use padding left. Instead, what we'll do is we will get rid of the padding, remove this. Sometimes it's buggy. Padding-Inline-Start is 3 rem. There we go. All right. And so you can see now we have the body set to RTL. If we remove it, you can see how the padding is flipping around to the other side. And what you will also see is that if you get into the box here, you will see there's a value, a pixel value that is in place of padding left, right? So usually it's all 0 if you don't touch it, but here it's now 48. But if we flip this around like this, and we go in here again, you'll see now it's on the other side. And it's basically showing you that you've set a padding through custom code, or as in this case, through custom properties. And so whenever we use a padding that is one-sided, what we want to do is we want to use Padding-Inline-Start. We can do the same on the other side. We can use Padding-Inline-End, which is 1 rem, for example. And you will see that, again, the whole website will flip around, including the spacing. And so that's very useful. If you have any type of elements with horizontal spacing that's uneven, you will use, instead of padding left and padding right, the Padding-Inline-Start and Padding-Inline-End properties, which are logical properties. And we can do the same for margin. Okay, so let's say inside of this box, tell you what, I'll make another box. Let's make another box. Okay, so we'll make another green box. All right. I want to show you how margin works. And so if you get some text, for example, you will see how margin behaves. That's what we want to do. Okay, so I'll use some text in this case to illustrate this example. And let's get rid of the direction RTL. Let's make it left to right. So let's say you have a text, and you want to add a margin on the left side. So you make 3 on the left side, maybe we have 1 on the top, like this. So we'll just want to like add some margin. For whatever reason, we're not using the padding here, but we're using the margin here. And so the same thing will happen again. If we set the direction to be right or left, you will see that the text element is now on the other side, but the margin hasn't flipped around. The margin is still over there. So you can see there's this 3 rem margin. So instead of using margin left or margin right, we'll do the same here. We'll go down to custom properties and we'll add Margin-Inline-Start at 3 rem. And now can see that the margin is flipping around. All right. And that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. You want to use Margin-Inline-Start and Margin-Inline-End. Margin-Inline-End. For example, we can do 6 rem. And you can see how, let's maybe even do 10 rem so you can see it better. You see that we flip around the direction and the margin also flips around. And so you can go to the MDN web docs and you'll see there's the Margin-Inline-Start property, which is essentially depending on the direction of a website. Same here with the Margin-Inline-End. I will have it linked in the description. And yeah, that is basically how you use those. If you go down to smaller breakpoints, of course, you can change it, right? You can make the Margin-Inline-End smaller, right? This behaves just like any other CSS property on the Webflow panel. We can make this smaller, or we can completely remove it when we're here. That's how margin works. And so we have basically padding left, padding right, which are static CSS properties. We have Padding-Inline-Start, Padding-Inline-End, which are logical equivalents. And we have the same for margin. So we have margin left, margin right, Margin-Inline-Start, Margin-Inline-End. And we've shown how to use custom CSS properties. I'll show you one more trick, which is negative margin values, because that is something where it gets a bit different. And so I will remove the text again. I will duplicate this box. Let me see. There we go. And what I will do is I will add a negative margin of -3 rem. And what I'll do is, of course, I will remove RTL. There we go. So you can see that when I add a negative margin here on the left side, oops, -3 rem, the box is moving to the left side. But if I go in here and if I add the RTL attribute, you'll see that the green box isn't actually going back in there. But what you can do is, let's say you want to move the box into the left and the right direction negatively, right? We could use Margin-Inline-Start -3 rem, or what you can do is you can have a negative margin value on both sides. So you can use -3 rem. And now what will happen is, it doesn't matter if it's right to left or left to right. The box will be pushed out, or pulled out rather, using the negative margin values. And so that is what I used as like a little trick before the custom properties were included, because that would mean I could just use both sides of the margin equation and pull an element a little bit out without having to write custom code. So that's a nice little trick that you can use on specific occasions. And you can see that the margin value only pulls on the negative margin value only pulls on one side, right? So the green box, it has 100% width, and it only pulls on the side where the direction is coming from. So yeah, that is all you need to know about padding and margin. If you want the padding to stay the same, you use the Webflow CSS panel. If you want the padding and margin to flip around to be logical, you want to use padding and Margin-Inline-Start, and you can do it by adding the custom properties down here. And so next lesson we're going to talk about absolute position. I'm going to show you how you can use the absolute positioning and make it logical. So see you in the next lesson.